We got patch notes, we got a dev talk, and we got a roadmap. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Nightfall here, and early this morning, FragPunk released the official patch notes for Season 2, Chapter 2, and I gotta tell you, I'm not really happy. The hype leading up to this chapter was just amazing, and I feel like the patch notes was just supposed to be the cherry on top, and yet it feels like the 5-year-old at the birthday party just stuck their whole hand in the cake and ruined it for everyone else. Now, I may be a little biased as a Zephyr main, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but overall, these patch notes feel just bland. There's not really any map updates. There's not a whole lot of weapon balancing. And to be honest, there's not enough Lancer balancing either. Well, let's take a look and see what we did get, and then we'll talk about things and some of the things we can actually kind of show, as FragPunk also released a video of that as well. So scrolling down here, I'm going to skip a lot of this because I've already made a ton of videos leading up to this one that's pretty much covered a majority of these patch notes. So right off the bat, we see the content here is Toys Awaken coming 8/21. We've seen this key art in numerous places, so we're just going to skip past that. Then we have the new Lancer Ishel. I have a video going over that as well and all of her abilities. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check that out. There's also talk here about the new map Toyland, which you could play exclusively in the new Gear Up mode. What's interesting with these patch notes is they've also added that you could play in free-for-all, scrimmage, headshot only, and of course, map training. Now, you still apparently can't play this map on the normal ranked Shard Clash or unranked Shard Clash, which is a little weird to me. And if you haven't seen this map yet, it's pretty close to CSGO's Inferno map. And when I say pretty close, I mean, it's pretty fucking close. I may or may not have a video coming out about that soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But if you want to go see a walkthrough through this map, as well as the other new map, Apep, that's for Outbreak, make sure you go check out my channel, as I already have a video about both of these maps, all in one video for you to check out. Then there's a little blurb here about the brand new mode Gear Up, which, believe it or not, I already have a video on, so you should go check that out as well. It covers everything that you're about to read right here. Then we have some new limited time modes, and we can see Gear Up, we actually get an end date, which is 9/25. So yes, the Gear Up mode is limited time, but I really feel like it's going to end up being a permanent mode, but we'll have to wait and see. We do get news here that Blitz Ballet is coming back on 9/4 to 9/10, so expect probably an event somewhere in there. We got some new shard card updates, which I've talked about as well, and you guessed it, I already have a video going over all of the new shard cards coming with the launch of Season 2, Chapter 2. Then we get into something that I've briefly talked about in a video, the new title system, which is just going to allow players to earn titles that you can equip to your profile. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, because towards the bottom of these patch notes, I think they list out all the titles that you can get, and I have some words. But next here, we talk about the inspection system, and this is something that's just kind of been a thing that's happening with no real details on it. So here they provide a few more details, and it says, we've launched a player inspection system. Some players will be invited to review anonymous match clips and work with official teams to identify actions that undermine fairness in the game. Now, right off the bat, it's good that the match clips are going to be anonymous. Something else I think they should do, if they haven't already, is make sure that whenever they're watching it, the weapon that they're using or the weapon skin, make sure that just goes back to the default skin, because some people have pretty unique skins with the sticker combos, and especially streamers, including myself, I have a pretty distinct discipline skin. So if there are people in this inspection system that want to have malicious intent, they could easily identify who the player is just based on the skin. But going further into this, it says inspectors who qualify for the inspection can download video evidence from the inspection system and make judgments. Your judgment will serve as a key basis for reviewing bans. So this kind of sounds like they're getting a fuck ton of bans, and we're going to be the middlemen. We're going to go through and review these clips for them, and all of the ones that people still think need to be banned or are cheating or something, they're going to get passed along, while the other ones that are deemed not cheating are just going to kind of die right then and there. Then it says players who qualify for inspection will receive an exclusive melee weapon skin, Striker Justice, which we've heard before is supposed to be some kind of a baton or something. And at the end here, it says they will regularly grant inspection qualifications to eligible accounts. Players who have not obtained inspection qualifications can increase their chance of receiving them by playing ranked Shard Clash and improving their rank. Super interested in seeing how this is played out in game. If this is a separate website that we're going to have to go to, is this an extra tab somewhere in the game where we can view this stuff? How many can people view per day? Just a lot of unanswered questions with a system that's dropping in less than 24 hours. I really wish they had more details on this, but I guess we'll have to dive in tomorrow and see just what's up with it. Next, they talk about the Battle Pass, which I shouldn't even have to say it. I already have a video on, so we're going to skip that. Then there's a whole lot of event stuff here that you can earn. Of course, the new Lancer is going to have their own event track where you can earn a bunch of stuff. The stickers, banners, name cards, ultra cans, you name it, all your normal stuff that you get when a new Lancer comes out. The gear up specific rewards are already in that gear up video as well. You can see everything there if you want to go check that out. We're going to get new chapter login rewards, which is just filled with mostly sticker packs, decoration packs, ultra cans, and a single arm ornament, which the Swallow Dance I've seen is for aura, and it's actually pretty cool, and I'm not really one for arm ornaments. Then they talk about the new Nightingale Parasite. Again, already talked about this and showcased in another video. Then we have new chapter challenges where you can earn a Muscle Dog arm ornament, which I haven't seen yet, I don't think, so I'm not sure who this is for, but you also get your ultra can, basic sticker packs, etc. Then we have a new store bundle here, which I kind of showcase in a thumbnail as a teaser, but this is going to be the Superb Lancer bundle for the brand new Lancer Ishel called New Champion, and she's basically just a boxing champion, and I thought this was pretty cool. Again, definitely starting to step it up with these release bundles for the new Lancer. Dex and Hurricane were kind of meh, and then all of a sudden Aura was like, wow, and this one's pretty cool too. Then we go down here to the updates, and finally we get to talk about Lancers and the balancing with them. So first up is Hollow Point, and Hollow Point actually gets kind of a buff, which I was not expecting. And enemies can now also be attached to while in smoke when it comes to the paparazzi. So I guess previously you could smoke off an area if it had a paparazzi in it, and you could just run right through it and it wouldn't attach to you. I did not know this. I was under the impression that this was always a thing, so it's not really a huge deal for me. Let me see. Jaguar's live wire range gets increased to a radius of 3.75 meters. Sonar gets a pretty decent buff. Sonic Surge initial flight distance has increased to 20 meters with a maximum flight distance of 30 meters after charging. And then her silent step increased from 3 to 5 seconds. Then we finally get the Chum and Chomper nerf that everybody's been waiting for, though I don't think it's enough. But apparently the cooldown has been increased to 60 seconds. So that would mean that he could only put 3 Chompers down throughout the entire match, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me in the comments if that's wrong. I still think Chomper's health needs to be lowered. He should not have the same amount of health as a base Lancer. That doesn't make any sense. Lower it to 100 at least, please. And then Axon's electric guitar. The recoil of the first shot in a double shot has decreased by 25%, while the recoil of the second shot was increased by 18%. The probability of pellet spread near the reticle has been reduced, with the pellet spread range increasing by 15%. Within 10 meters, the damage of each pellet is reduced by 1. Now, they did include the little snippet here that we'll be able to watch to show you the difference, but I don't really know in practice how much difference this is actually going to make. Guess we'll have to wait and see. But you know what I don't see here? I don't see Zephyr. We are now 4 what I would call major updates into the game, and Zephyr has not been mentioned in a patch note in any capacity. She's not been nerfed, she's not been buffed. In fact, I would argue she's been silently nerfed a fuck ton, including if we go all the way back to the launch of the game, she got nerfed straight out of beta. And then also with the new chapter, I think it was season 1, chapter 2, it started to seem like her teleport took a little bit longer to go through the entire animation. So you just started dying mid-teleport. And if I remember correctly, the only indirect buff that she got was no longer being sighted through Hollow Point Sniper while she was invisible. And I think following that same logic, Chomper shouldn't be able to identify her while she's invisible either. But supposedly there's another big update scheduled for September 10th, and I'm letting you know right now, if Zephyr does not get a buff by September 10th, I'm coming for you. There's no reason it's taking this long. I've given numerous ways that we could buff Zephyr, that we could change her kit a little bit to make her a viable Lancer while also not breaking her so that everybody hates her and then she gets nerfed in the very next patch notes because everybody was complaining about her. So last chance, buff Zephyr or I'll do it. And then obviously for TOS purposes, of course, it's a joke. It's a joke. Relax, it's a joke. But let's go ahead and move on to the weapons now. The Boom Broom gets an increased fire rate from 222 to 240, which I think it also just recently got an increased fire rate in the last patch notes. And then the damage dealt to the torso by each pellet has been increased to 16 for 0 to 10 meters, 14 from 10 to 25, and 12 from 25 to 60. The Bad Moon S recoil in horizontal and vertical directions is reduced. And I keep seeing recoil getting reduced. And that's one of the, I would say, larger complaints about this game is that recoil is too easy to control, which doesn't make the game quote unquote competitive. So I don't know why they keep reducing recoil. Then we get some util pistol changes. Now the duration of the burning area has been increased from 7.5 to 10 seconds, and they increased the burning damage from 8 to 10 per tick. The blaster, they reduced the maximum damage that can be dealt to 150. So you'll no longer be able to kill a aura out of spawn, which is kind of annoying. And they reduced the maximum damage radius from 1 meter to 0.5 meters from the explosion center. Then it says damage gradually decreases to 75 within range of the 0.5 to 1 meter, and further decreases to 40 within the range of 1 to 2.5, and no damage occurs beyond 4 meters. Now here is the kicker. The Vicious gets an adjusted distance at which damage attenuation occurs from 12 to 18. Additionally, damage will no longer decrease at greater distances, meaning this is the same change that they did to the Sniper. And I don't know how I feel about this change with the new gear up mode coming, because you're going to have people running around in the very first round with a Vicious, and it's just going to be Sniper Central all over again. But then we get some other changes here, which applies to all weapons or players actually, where it says the hit sound effect has been adjusted, making it easier for players to perceive when they're hit by enemies. And if you didn't realize you were getting shot at or hit by an enemy at this point, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. But then we get to some map changes, or well, rather one map changes, and it says adjusted some invisible walls and fixed issues with the map boundaries. Really interested to see if this is affected Dongshin's dual map in custom games. For some reason, the invisible walls and barriers just kind of went away one day. And while it's certainly been fun to mess around with, it was indeed a problem. Thankfully, that barrier wasn't broken in ranked duels, so it didn't impact a whole lot, but still. Then we get some changes to some shard cards here. The No Pain, No Slain card is increased from 2 to 3, and they increased the damage bonus from 30 to 20, which I think is backwards. Maybe they meant to say they increased it from 20 to 30, or maybe it was supposed to be they decreased it from 30 to 20. I don't know. Somebody let me know down in the comments if it's 20 or 30 right now, and then I guess we can figure it out from there. But they also changed Spiky Skin. They increased the required shard points from 3 to 4, and they reduced the reflect damage from 40% to 25, which is a much needed change. Then we have a bunch of cards for TDM, Free For All, and Kill Confirmed to get changed here. I'm going to slowly scroll through all of these. Again, I'm not going to read every single one of them. Apologies, I just don't play this mode enough. And then Outbreak, I've seen a couple people comment the word infected, as I've been asking if you guys want me to make more Outbreak specific content. So I will stop and go over these since it's not a ton. But the Savior is the initial parasites cannot respawn as survivors. And Spiky Skin, there's a chance to trigger the damage reflection. After accumulating a certain amount of damage, the spikes will explode, damaging nearby enemies. So a really cool change to Spiky Skin in the Outbreak mode. Then we have some changes to Reaper's Scythe card in Deck Deathmatch and Capture the Core, blah, blah, blah. Now we get some mode updates. In Shard Clash, optimize the process before drawing cards in each round to shorten the time. And then they also move the display of shard card selection results to the preparation phase in each round. So it seems like they're changing up some of the UI, and it'll be interesting to see what exactly this looks like. And then in Outbreak mode, Dex's clone no longer receives a damage boost. They added a custom editing feature for deck presets, allowing players to share and import decks. They introduced a character selection feature for parasites, allowing players to expend shard points to switch characters during the match, with the switch taking effect on the next respawn. And of course, they added the new Nightingale parasite. Now, some non-match changes here. They have the rank system where they added titles as rewards to the ranked and Lancer leaderboards. We already talked about that, and we'll go over those in more detail in just a moment. They have rank demotion protection can now trigger when a player is at 0 points in their current rank. And if a teammate has disconnected in the first 3 rounds of the match, surrendering will not incur a penalty. So for all you solo queue players out there, if you're down 0-2 and your PC crashes, you might be out of luck because your team might just surrender a lot quicker. Then moving down to the arsenal section here, players can obtain trial items in certain events, allowing them to try out the Lancer for free. And I believe the first one is going to come with the new event track for the new Lancer eShell. They revised the level icons for the Lancers and weapons in the arsenal. They revised the scoreboard interface during the settlement phase, revised the settlement interface by adding a matchmaking countdown. This will automatically start the next matchmaking once the countdown ends. So it seems like they've added a mechanic to just get you into that next game faster. They also added a preview feature for shard card sleeves, and now stickers and charms can be applied to melee weapons. This is huge and probably the biggest thing in the whole patch notes, I would argue, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with all the sticker combos on certain melee weapons. Then we get a couple changes here to the spectate, where they modified the indicator colors for both teams so that attackers are always red and defenders are always blue. I feel like that's going to throw a lot of people off at first. And then matchmaking, optionally ending a match will automatically start matchmaking for the next game, which was talked about just above. And apparently this feature can be adjusted in settings and basic. Now again, at the bottom here, they go over all the new shard cards, which I've already talked about and showcased in another video. They have removed Iron Heads from Shard Clash. And then here's some new cards for some other modes here. I'll scroll slowly through all of these so that you guys can see them. And if you want the full patch notes, I'll leave a link for those down in the description. So make sure to either pause the video here or go to that link and check out the entire patch notes. But what I want to get to is right down here. And this is the first batch of titles that we're going to be able to get. And I'm not going to go over all of them because a lot of them are repetitive, you can see. But if you hit Punk Master during the Rising Tempest season, which is the season we're in right now, you're going to get a title that says Rising Tempest Punk Master. The next one here says CN Top 500, which is interesting. And I'll circle back to that in just a second. But basically just achieve a leaderboard rank within the top 500 for the end of the week. I can already see a lot of the quote unquote pro players or top players complaining about this, saying that everybody's going to have this. It's only top 500. There's no top 10. There's no number 1. There's no number 5. There's no this. There's no that. And it should be for the whole thing. Wah, 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 cry about it, whatever. I'm sure titles will change at some point. That's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is the title says CN Top 500. And if you're unfamiliar, CN is the typical abbreviation for China. So are they separating leaderboards based on region again? Something to keep an eye out for. And then you're going to get your top 100 for all of your Lancers down here. Again, you only have to survive in the top 100 for the end of that week to be able to get it. Then you're going to have some things to grind the other modes for, which I think is good. You'll have a Parasite King title, where as a Parasite, infect at least 100 survivors in your best 5 matches this week. You can get Survivor Leader, which as a survivor, you survive at least 30 rounds in your best 5 matches this week. Then you get Annual Membership, which is pretty self-explanatory. You get Tactical Domination, which is the highest rank that you can achieve in the new Gear Up mode. And then you get Gear Up Top 500, which you would just need to achieve and maintain that top 500 ranking on the Gear Up leaderboard at the settlement when the mode ends at the end of September. And now let's talk dev talk. And this is kind of the second take of this because for some reason my microphone just decided it was gonna stop recording everything at this point of the video. So apologies in advance if I seem less interested or I breezed through this a little bit quicker than I normally would, but let's go ahead and talk about the very first question that they have on the volume 2 of the dev talk. They talked about queue time, player numbers, and advertising. All of this has been a very hot topic in the community, and they're listening. And basically, to sum up this big chunk of text here, they know the player counts drop. They're aware of it, but they're thankful for the players that are still there. and they're dedicated to improving the core experience, rolling out new content, and staying closely connected with the community that is still here. When it comes to advertising, they have been running campaigns, and the suggestions that we have made have been spot on, and they're going to be taking them into account as they refine their strategy. In fact, they're going to be at Gamescom tomorrow morning, debuting a brand new game mode coming later in this chapter. So make sure you guys check that out. And let's move on to question 2. Somebody asked about a development roadmap, and a roadmap has been something that people have been asking for since the launch of the game, and rightfully so. And instead of giving us an actual roadmap right here, they do talk about some teasers about stuff that's coming later on. And then after we finish this dev talk, I'll show you the roadmap that they did give us. So targeting on Halloween, they're going to have their first ever PvE mode where you're going to team up to fight waves of monsters. You'll be able to rack up points, use those points to unlock cards, build your deck of cards, make your deck stronger as you progress through stages across multiple maps, which sounds interesting. And you're going to be able to earn unique rewards in this mode, which I can't wait to see what kind of rewards you're going to get. In fact, I'm more interested, I think, in the skins that they're going to have for Halloween. But let's go ahead and move on to the second part of that. And we see here they have an Outbreak update planned for Season 3's launch, where you're going to have a new savior mechanic where players who survive until the end can unlock special abilities and transformations. And then obviously, number 3 here, a new Lancer reveal coming with Season 3 Chapter 1, which we all already kind of expected this. This isn't much of a teaser, but it does answer a question that we've had for quite some time. And ever since Aura dropped, I've been questioning, is it going to be 1 new Lancer per chapter or 2? And this kind of solidifies that they're going to have 1 new Lancer added with every chapter going forward. And they do give us a little sneak peek that the Season 3 Chapter 1 Lancer is going to be a new female Lancer. And then we get down to question 3, which personally, I think this is the most interesting of all the questions here when it comes to balancing update for Lancers and weapons. Now, I'm going to skip past 1 because we already talked about my feelings on the buffs, sonar, nerfs to Axon and Chum. That's coming tomorrow. What I want to focus on here is number 2. They're mentioning that they're looking into requests to buff Zephyr and Spider since their performance differs a lot across skill levels, and they want to take a careful approach here. For starters, spell Zephyr right. You guys make the game. And this just shows me how out of touch you are and how little you care about this Lancer, that you don't even spell her name right in official posts. This has been a pet peeve of mine with people calling her Zephyr, all kinds of dumb shit. Invisible Girl, like it's getting to the point where it's just dumb. But I've offered numerous ways that they could rework or change Zephyr or buff her without completely breaking her. And at this point, we got to stop taking every single player's feedback into account. If you have these players who are bronze, silver, gold saying that Zephyr is OP, then I'm sorry, you might just be like brain dead or bad at the game, because literally everybody in the game counters her. It's not my fault you're playing with your fucking headset from 1982 or you just walking around with a Walkman headset. Like, how are you playing this game? It really seems like people must be playing with no headset and they just have all kind of like visual audio cues turned off somehow. But I'll leave my rant ending right there. They apparently are reviewing how they can change these characters, so we'll see what comes in the future. And obviously sniper rifles are still in exploration phase, apparently, is what they have here. Snipers are always going to be a hot topic. I don't think they're ever going to find a middle ground that makes everybody happy with them, so we're just kind of along for the ride at this point. And then the final question, people want to know what the core direction of FragPunk is. Is it competitive? Is it casual? And they said it's both. They think that they can capture the audience of both player bases, which I think they can, but it just needs to be done in the right way. I'm so tired of hearing all of these people say that if the game had a comp scene and they hosted official tournaments, that it would bring more players in. And honestly, I don't think it would, but that's just my opinion. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Who knows? But they are launching that new Gear Up mode coming with the new chapter, which we've talked about extensively in this video and other videos. They're going to have a mystery fun mode launching on September 10th, which you'll actually get to see a trailer premiered during the Xbox Gamescom showcase tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And then they're also going to introduce a personal build mode in late September, which a summary of all of this, it seems like they're going to take some feedback here that people have been giving since the beginning of the game's release, where you're going to be able to build your own deck and kind of manage your own economy points for that deck. So we'll see how that turns out. that's the end of the dev talk. Let's put up the roadmap. And just a quick rundown here. We've talked about most of this stuff, but we can see we have the new chapter update coming tomorrow on August 21st. There's going to be a new event for 828 called Toy Challenges. Blitz Ballet makes its return on 9/4. There's going to be a big update with a new mode, new cards, and new skins, which I can't wait to see those coming on 9/10. And then unknown stuff coming 9/18, 9/25, and 10/2. There's a ton of stuff packed into this new chapter. I'm super hyped for it still, even though the patch notes kind of let me down. They will also have Twitch drops starting at the start of the release for the new chapter. And you're going to be able to earn a bunny eye sticker for watching for 30 minutes and a gotcha crab claw charm for watching for 2 hours. I've already anticipated all of your feedback. I feel the same way, and I've let them know this isn't enough. It's not. It's 30 minutes and 2 hours for two things that most players will never even use, and people are just going to be collecting them just to have everything. It's not enough. We need stuff that we can earn for watching for 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, etc. We need more drops. We need ultra cans. We need lancer skins. We need weapon skins. We need stuff that's going to be worth it. We need stuff that's not just going to reward the dedicated viewers that always stop by all the streams. We need stuff that's going to bring people to the streams. Like, there are tons of people who play the game who just don't come to the streams because, one, they either don't know about the Twitch drops, probably because they suck, or two, they just don't give a fuck because they suck. Twitch drops suck. Give us more. Do better. But let me know your thoughts on all this. I know this was a super long video. Grateful to anybody who stayed all the way till the end this long. And if you are still here all the way at the end, comment the word crab claw down below, as well as let me know your thoughts on the patch notes, the updates, all the events coming, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.